Hello everyone and welcome to this video on how to make French disco house. Here's a snippet of the track we'll be making today. My name's Andy Van from Super Disco Club and Madison Avenue. You may remember a track I made back in 1999 called Don't Call Me Baby, which was around in those fantastic days when disco house was everywhere. I've been a DJ and music producer for over 3 decades and have spent thousands of hours making disco house tracks. And in my opinion, the most important thing that makes a good French disco house track is choosing the right sample and then choosing the right sections to chop up and repeat. Okay, let's get into it. So the first thing I do is open up my Ableton Disco House template. This has all the tracks set up the way I like it for fast music production. So for this French house tutorial, I've chosen an amazing sample from 1980 produced by pretty well the best guitarist and disco producer in the world. Okay, here's the sample. Actually, a lot of French house artists pitched up their samples, so let's do that first. Yeah, I can already tell. This little section of audio is going to be perfect. Yeah, that's got that great French touch feel I'm looking for. Okay, let's find a second sample, something with a vocal. Let's grab that Babe vocal snippet and place that at the end of the first sample. And then move that back to the end of the sample. Let's chop it correctly, label it Babe, and then color it green. And then let's label this earlier snippet Y1. Then let's loop and repeat Y1 with the Babe snippet at the end. Yep, I really like that. Okay, the next step is sidechaining, but let's take a moment to talk about sidechaining. Sidechaining is an effect where you route a kick drum into a compressor, and this causes the main musical part of your track to duck away when the kick drum occurs. See this waveform of a short audio file here, and then the same waveform after sidechaining. You can see the volume dipping down in the audio file. Why would you do this? 1, to allow more room for your kick drum to be heard. And secondly, sidechaining gives your song a strong, pumping, rhythmic energy. You can hear it here in So Much Love to Give. For some unknown reason, there's no dedicated sidechain in Ableton, so I've made a sidechain rack using the stock compressor. This rack and many other racks are available in our Patreon. Okay, back to the track. So let's place the sidechain rack onto the disco sample. Then I'll route the kick, called SC, which by the way has no output, to the sidechain compressor. So have a listen to what happens when we sidechain the sample. This is before, and this is what it sounds like with a sidechain on it. Yeah, you can definitely hear that sidechaining effect now. Okay, let's loop this disco sample. Okay, you can hear some clicks occurring. That's because the sample isn't properly warped. You can see here I'm placing warp markers on the kicks and snares. Warping in Ableton is where you place warp markers on kicks and snares to keep the sample in time. Let's re-loop these now that they are properly warped. That's much better. Okay, let's do some short loops. That's really good. Let's do a quick 8-bar arrangement. And then let's add a good kick in now. For French house, we need to choose a 909 as that was a favourite with Thomas Bangalter and other French touch producers. I have a quick 4 on the floor 8-bar pattern that I'm dragging in here. Let's have a listen. Now let's hear it with the kick and the sample. That's already sounding great. Let's add in a 909 open hat. Yep, this one's good. I've used this in quite a few tracks. Let's lower the volume of that. Next, let's add in a snare. Let's give it a listen. That is already sounding very strong. You may notice down in the corner of Ableton I have my standard multi-effects rack. This has a low cut, a high cut, a stereo widener, gain control, echo, and reverb all set up. Okay, next, I like adding in a percussive loop to feel that mid energy. Yeah, that's excellent. Let's get some more energy. We already have the sidechain. Let's add in some multi-band compression, which will give it great mid-energy and excitement. I have this multi-band rack with different variations set up for hats, mids, snares, and more. Let's give it a listen. Okay, next, let's add a short riser. And then let's add some phasing. It's a very French approach. And here in Ableton, we can automate that phaser so it increases at the end of the 8th bar. Subtle but nice. Next step is filtering. Filtering is hugely important to French house. Here I'm demonstrating what happens to the sample when I alter the low cut filter to remove the bottom end. Let's listen. Let's automate the filter to cut out the bottom end. And then let's also automate the top end. And then to give it a really good French feel, let's turn the resonance up on the highs and lows. That's very French filtered disco to my ears. Next step is to do more arrangement and make an intro section. And filter out all the bottom end. And copy the drums to bar 13. And filter out the top end, kind of like the start of Daft Punk's One More Time. Now listen. Next thing we could do is add a live crowd sound effect. Actually, a good idea is to sidechain that live crowd. Yep, super happy with that. Okay, next step, let's add a filtered kick before the drop. Yep, great. Okay, final thing. I'd like to warm up the bottom end of the sample, so there's an amazing free plugin for bass enhancement from Analog Obsession. It's called Love End. It's free, so I'd grab it for sure. Have a listen to how much bass gets added to the sample when I turn it on. It's like the plugin has added a bass line to the sample. It's a really great plugin. Okay, that's it. We're done. Let's listen to the final version. By the way, if you enjoyed this video and want to learn more about disco house and house music production and want to support us so we can make more videos like this, then please consider joining our Patreon and becoming part of that community. Thanks so much. We'll see you on the next video.